United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Oh, man, I get up and go. I don't answer it.
Justice for all.
And he leaves me a message, and I get up and go. You call it what you want.
Good evening, everyone.
He goes,
Welcome to night number 3 of 4 of the City of Springfield's budget hearings and workshop.
He's got the slides.
First on the agenda this evening is the Lincoln Library Director.
I'll go over your slides. Well, he'll be here about 4:30.
The floor is yours.
There ain't no point in duplicating. Let's hold on.
Feedback or something
I said,
going on.
I got up and walked out.
Who needs to
He
mute?
calls me again. Get in here. I go, I can't. I got stuff going on. And he goes, no, we got to get this done. I go, you should have waited for the last hour. That's on you.
Alderman Donilon, do we have someone talking? Can everyone hear that?
We have someone talking. We got to figure out who. Tom Shee's working on it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank
You hear
you.
my voice? Yes.
Okay, it seems to have subsided. Director, you're up.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was going to say it's good to see you all again, but it's good to see some of you again. I'm Rochelle Hartman from the Lincoln Library. First off, I want to give you a brief overview of our current services. The library reopened to the public last Wednesday. We had been open for limited service, limited access to computers for a while, but now folks can come in and browse all the stacks, talk to a librarian, get a document notarized or something copied. We do have very limited seating. There's 4 tables on the second floor that folks can use for up to an hour a day. And then each of our study rooms is available to use once a day, and then we let it air out until the next day. We're still offering curbside pickup, and we are looking for a safe way for AARP to offer no-contact tax preparation for seniors. We had to shut that down last March, and that was a huge loss to our community. At this time, we are not offering in-person programs, meeting room use, or casual seating. And now, if you switch to the organization chart. I'll just summarize the different areas of the library so you know what we do. Administration includes me, a community engagement manager, technical support specialist, security officers, office coordinator, and a secretary. Access services is kind of like the front porch of the library. They are the folks you see when you first come in, or the voice that you'll probably hear when you call. They are also known as the circulation, or the circ desk, or the checkout desk. They greet everybody who comes in the door. They check out materials, they check in materials, they make library cards, they make friends, they recommend books, and they deliver materials to homebound patrons. In youth services, we have a manager, 2 librarians, a library assistant, 4. They all order youth materials, plan programs, and everybody's favorite story hour, including our summer reading program. They do what they can to get books into the hands of our youngest citizens. Adult services is what you might know as the reference department. These are the folks that you want to stack your trivia team with. They also order all of our collections for adults, including books, audiobooks, CDs, and movies. Adult services develop and deliver programs that are both enriching and entertaining. This team also manages our computer lab and really knocked it out of the park by beefing up our social media presence during the pandemic. Sangamon Valley is local history and archives, and I believe it's what makes Lincoln Library unique. If you ever see a historical photo of Springfield in social or regular media, there's a good chance that it came from the Sangamon Valley collection. This year, they have provided research and information to several news outlets, including Netflix, who is doing research for a true crime series that's coming up. Technical services, they're kind of in the background, but they do a lot. They order and process all of the materials and make them findable in our catalog. All of our online resources are managed in this department, as is our website. Right, if you'll flip to the workforce chart. As you can see, our staffing level has been flat for almost a decade. We do what we can with the staff that we have, but we would like to do more. This was not the year to ask, but next year I will likely be coming to you to consider bumping up that number even by 1 or 2 so that we can provide services more in line for a community our size. Currently, we have 6 vacancies, 4 of which we are in the process of filling. 1 we intend to fill later this year, and the 3rd security guard is on hold until the library is fully open. Now we're going to move to library comparisons. Typically, we show all of our comparables, which includes Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, Decatur, and Peoria. This year, I want to highlight comparisons to the 2 cities that we most closely resemble in different ways. So if you look at Decatur, outside of population, we are very close to them in funding, hours, staffing, circulation, and expenditures. But you look at Peoria, who we match in population, and you note that their revenue is $3 million more than ours. They have more than twice the staff that we do, and their circulation is more than twice what we do. I know that we're never going to be back to the library system we were 20 years ago, but I would like to reach a little higher. Now onto the budget. As you can see, our overall request is about 1.5% less than last year. We've reduced the personnel line by 1 position. That was that 4th security guard that you all were so generous with last year. But we're not even going to need that 3rd guard until we open up more. We also moved a small bit of money around to shore up our advertising and training lines. That's about all the changes we have for the budget for next year. Now onto accomplishments. So in March, nobody could have predicted the year we were about to have, but we put aside all of our plans to do what we could to continue to provide services virtually. As libraries did around the state, we shut down in mid-March, and for the first couple months of the pandemic, we were the only library locally or regionally that offered phone service. All of the phones were routed to my phone at home, and I became the voice of the library for 2 months. I helped people with their stimulus checks, with unemployment. I tried to refer people as much as I could. And if I couldn't, I would triage them out to our other managers who would help out. Since I'm new to administration, I haven't had a chance to meet our patrons or work at a service desk much, so it was really kind of an honor to take this over and get to know our patrons a little better. We started to bring staff back in mid-May so we could figure out how to safely provide some level of service to our patrons. We started curbside pickup in on June 1st and hope to continue that even after the pandemic. It was during this time that we began to offer programs and instruction via Zoom and Facebook, including Storytime. Let me highlight our 2 programming successes, our 2 main programming successes. Our most popular program, looking at number of attendees, was Haunted Springfield, because everybody loves ghosts. We had over 250 folks who Zoomed in over 2 nights, and we'll be inviting this gentleman back to talk about Haunted President at the end of the month. Our most consistently attended series was The Stituation, where folks gather to work on crafts and just visit. This group continues to have 5 to 8 dedicated attendees twice a month. We filled 3 key positions that will go a long way to help us improve services in the future. We now have a youth services manager, a community engagement manager, and an IT guy. We're so grateful. While the number of physical materials that we checked out was much lower this year, we introduced a lot of patrons to our online resources, including audiobooks, ebooks, and streaming video. We saw a 21% increase in use over last year. We've got 1 more month of data to get before we see what that final number is, but we expect it to be there or higher. Included in this was a patron in her 90s who had never done anything with audio or ebooks, And she said that if she couldn't come in and get her books, she would figure another way to get it. And so we walked her through it and got her using ebooks. We also have research resources that saw a significant bump in use over the year, thanks to our schooling at home folks. One of our biggest projects of the past several months has been the Big Read, a grant-funded program from the National Endowment for the Humanities. We are a partner with Academy for Lifelong Learning, who submitted the grant. Our hope is to get the book Lab Girl by Hope Jaron into the hands of as many folks as possible. That's what I handed out to you guys earlier. So we can have 2 months of discussion, discovery, and programming starting in March through May. We're going to have programming around this. I think there are going to be over 75 programs in the community. Everything is planned on being virtual. If things open up, we'll do that. Some of them are nature programs, so we'll be doing some outdoor programming as well. And now on to goals. We set all of our goals assuming that we're going to be living in a pandemic for a while. We hope we're not. We hope to be able to do more things later this year, but we're not counting our chickens. First, we want to increase the number of active library card users in targeted zip codes. We don't want to just issue library cards, but we want to show people the value of having that card. And along with that, we hope to increase and improve awareness of library services in social and other media, which we can do much more easily now with dedicated staff member. One of our plans is to become a day sponsor on National Public Radio. That will give us 70 spots over the course of a year that we can switch out messaging during the year, and people will hear our name 70 times over the next year. We also want to investigate the feasibility of micro branches or kiosks to extend our reach into the community. I'm not talking about the big hangout branches like we used to have. That would be great, but I'm talking about just small existing spaces where folks could come pick up materials during certain hours, or we would have book lockers, or you could bring your kids for a story hour. They wouldn't be fully staffed. It's not something I'm planning on or want to do this year, but something we want to look into and come back next year for you. And despite the pandemic, we will be looking to develop strategic partnerships and increase the variety of programming for all ages, in particular teens, who we have not seen a lot of the past several years. One way we might do this is with an outreach van that we could take to farmers market, Boys and Girls Club, the schools, neighborhoods, parks. We have one chance at this right now. We have written a grant to the Heartland Library System, who's giving away 5 gently used cargo vans for such a purpose. We'll find out about that Friday. If we are not selected for that, we have a plan B that I'll tell you about in a minute. And you'll see in the budget that we have zeroed out the line for fines. This year, during the pandemic, all of our comparable libraries and countless others in the United States dropped fines permanently. We have not charged fines on children's items for a couple of years, and we suspended fines for all materials at the beginning of the pandemic. We are, however, charging people for not bringing things back or for damaged material. Our board just passed their approval of this in spirit. And now, so in June, I opened a letter where I learned that someone had given the library $1 million. At first, I thought it was a joke because that seemed like a big number to me, but it was real. Frank and Marion Wagner lived in Springfield, Illinois from the 1950s through 2006. He worked for the IRS. She was a homemaker. They were unassuming, frugal people who nobody ever would have imagined such a gift from. They relocated to Florida in 2006, where they lived until their deaths in the past couple of years. They asked that the money be used in their honor. That's all the strings that were attached. I understand that has been put in a line item in the city's budget for capital expenses. So we're going to be very thoughtful and take our time figuring out how we want to spend that money. But a van might be one of those things. Any questions?
Anybody in the chambers have a question for the director? Alderman Proctor.
Thank you for, I didn't know you did that during COVID with the helping people with unemployment and stuff. That was
Very nice of you to do and appreciate it.
Yeah.
one thing I want to ask about the grant. Are these are your
Alderman, if you could use your microphone.
There we go. Could part of that money, because I'm like you, I think like if we had other branches or other locations, there might be more usership. Can part of this donation you received be used for something like that later on down the road?
Yep, I think so. I'm going to have to work with the mayor and other folks who can tell me exactly what they mean by capital improvements. We have a leaky roof, but people don't donate money to institutions to fix leaky roofs.
All right.
So that is definitely one of the options on the table.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other alderman in the chamber? Any other alderperson on the call? Alderwoman Turner. You're muted.
Sorry. I was very interested in your first goal for FY 2022 to increase active library card users in targeted zip codes. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like what zip codes and how you plan to do that?
Sure. This is a project of our new community engagement manager, and she asked for a breakdown of library cards by ward, or was it by zip code? By zip code. And so we've identified a few zip codes where library card holding is very low, and so we want to figure out how to get into those neighborhoods with a van or on foot or however, and let people know the value of a library card. I can get those zip codes to you later or next week.
Okay, so if you are not able to purchase a van, do you have is that the only thing you're thinking, or is there something else? Or
No,
I think it's an absolutely wonderful idea. I'm all about it. I guess I'm just trying to,
Sure.
get more information.
Well, we've already started this. In December, we got a new youth services librarian and our community engagement manager, and they have already been out in the communities to the Boys and Girls Club, calling the schools. So we're already doing it on foot. It would just be value added if we had a dedicated vehicle.
Right. And so I think that, the Boys and Girls Club is a great place to start. But sometimes I talk about this all the time about people and the usual suspects.
Yeah.
And so I just don't want you to stop there. I mean, there are a number of different community-based organizations that have fantastic youth mentoring programs, and, a lot of different entities that have groups of youth that are, right there readily available. And maybe you could go in and, make a presentation with them or do some kind of mentoring program with them.
We would welcome your suggestions.
I think it's a great program. It's a great opportunity, but I just, want you guys to kind of think outside the box with it.
Yep, I will have my community engagement person give you a call, because we want input from the community. We aren't the deciders.
Yep, I'm more than happy to, give you some ideas on organizations and groups that you can contact, without a doubt.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I believe Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you. Yes, Director, this was a great presentation. I appreciate your emphasis and focus on pushing library usage in more creative ways. I guess I'm kind of wondering, what sort of approaches are you looking at for reaching high school kids? Because that's an age group that I think we've seen a lot of, especially this past year. There's just been a lot of, complications around school and social interactions. And I grew up with my nose in a book, so that's always been my kind of my refuge. It would be nice to see that those opportunities be made more available to that teen group.
Sure.
And I don't know.
Right now,
Mostly, realistically, I'm probably just asking you to talk books right now, but we don't have to do that very long.
right. We're doing online programming. We're trying to figure out how to get to that crowd. They're not on Facebook, so it's really challenging. But this is more of a longer term thing and not just what we're going to do this year. We want to start building that program. We have a librarian position in our Access Services Department that we probably will not fill in that department, and we would love to have a dedicated teen librarian who would work on those projects and figure out how to connect with those folks.
So you would actually be hiring someone like a high school student?
No.
Or you're talking about hiring a librarian with a emphasis on?
A professional young adult librarian, yeah, instead of one focused on the younger kids.
I think it's a great idea, and I won't keep you up here too long, but thank you for including that age group in your outreach.
We miss them.
Yeah.
Anything else, Alderwoman
Chair.
Conley? Anything else, Alderwoman Conley?
I just want to say that I appreciate Ward 9 taking over the chair duties this week.
Oh, I bet you do. Anyone else on the call? Going once, going twice? Director, you're off the hook. Nice presentation this evening.
Thank you.
For those of you who are in the chamber and not in the chamber, Tony's asked for a 2-minute break between presentations, so we're going to take 2-minute break. See you at 5:54. And next up is the police department.